All right, so some external traumas that I talked about, and I want us to just take a look at this as a class. So if you live in a country where there's a lot of violence, so for example, wars, uh, how as a community, even if your person has not been killed, for example. So I know in Nigeria, for example, we have the Boko Haram. In some parts of the world, we have other terrorist attacks. Some parts of the world are fighting their own wars. Well, sometimes even if your um, family is not impacted, even if it hasn't been impacted, just the fact that you're bearing witness to this is traumatizing. The fact that you're bearing witness to it, and the other fact is also when you learn of it. So you might bear witness to it. It didn't happen to you personally. It didn't even might not have happened to someone in your house, within your own vicinity, your own environment. But because it's happening and you are witnessing, maybe through television, maybe through social media, all of these things, you're witnessing this, that's traumatizing. So for example, the I had a student who did his dissertation on the effect of police shooting in the Black community. And one of the things he was trying to say was that when we share the videos and we share the videos, you're actually traumatizing a group of people. And we're the ones, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, my friend needs to see this, and then you share, and then my friend needs to see that, and you share. And that's not even just limited to the Black community. It happens within different communities. So like if you are witnessing it, it doesn't have to be a primary event for you. It's also traumatizing. Okay. If you're a victim of a crime, even though that could also be counted as interpersonal because it's from you and somebody else, but it's an external trauma because somebody's coming at you. Okay. The death of a loved one, some people that could be extremely traumatizing, and some people will go through it and they'll be okay. A suicidal uh, loss of a loved one to homicide, a sudden and unexpected loss of a job. Sometimes people, housing and relationship. And this is important because when we talk about external trauma, sometimes we're always thinking of, some other like a war and some of the things that we've listed. But how about the loss of a job? If it's your loss of your income, is the loss of some people, it is their identity. And so when this happens, it really could be traumatizing. And a loss of your housing, loss of relationship, a divorce, a separation, these things, or a friendship that you really wanted, and for some reason it didn't work. These things, people can be traumatized by that. Living in extreme poverty, can be, has it's an external trauma, because you're just not, you just don't know where your next meal is going to come from. You can't take care of yourself. You don't know what's good. Extreme poverty will leave you in a state of trauma. People who live in extreme poverty, when you talk of Maslow's hierarchy, most of us I'm sure all of you know what I'm talking about. When you talk about the pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy, the one of the first step is what? It's shelter, it's food, making sure that those basic needs are met. Those are important. And when you can meet those basic needs of step 1 and 2, that by itself is traumatic. And so natural disasters, we've talked about that, accidents, vehicle. I need to be cautious of the time because I have a lot to say. And so I remember I got into an accident. I was dragged by an 18-wheeler, and I almost died. But for a whole year, I couldn't drive because I was just afraid to drive. And I had to, I had to work through that to be able to get back on the road. And so things that people experience all kinds of trauma.